Is this on? There you go. Yeah, Omar really embellishes that story, but I did tell him when he got here that I was done, and so we're working in on that. But as for as long as I've been here at this church, which is going on 20 years, I've been somehow involved in the finances of the church, and so it's always a little scary when they let the money guy come up and get the microphone. So you get to hear a little bit about that. But before I do, I want to first acknowledge that we've got a lot of people that are involved in taking care of the financial aspect of the church. I see Ginger sitting there. She, along with Cassie and Carrie, really do all of the bookkeeping and making sure people get paid, and they do that. And it takes a lot of time, so I want you to appreciate the work that they do, and especially the fact that they've been doing it a long time. We also, every week, we have folks that come up and, as a part of their stewardship to our church, they act as tellers. And so after we do the offering, every week somebody after church stays, does the count, and make sure that we record that. And so there's always an opportunity to serve in that capacity. We need some more tellers right now, so that's my plea for you to step up and do that if that's something you can help with, and we'll train you and help you with that. But I just wanted to share with you a little bit about where we stand as a church. First of all, we are very blessed in this congregation to have faithful givers. It's put us in a phenomenal position relative to probably many other churches in this community and around the world. First of all, the building that we sit in is debt-free, and so we have no debt on this building. The only debt we have, frankly, is about $38,000 on our parsonage, which, compared to the value of that property is very insignificant. And so what that allows us to do is really spend our money that we have on the operations of the church and on the ministries of the church, which is great. We have currently in our general fund roughly 2+ months of our operating expenses. So we're not sitting in a situation where we have to every week meet that. If you look at the weekly notes in your bulletin, you'll know that we don't always hit our weekly need. But when you look at it on a year-to-date basis, we have, and that's really what I wanted to share with you this morning. So currently we have a budget that's about $378,000 on an annual basis. That budget really hasn't changed much in the last 3 years. I think 3 years ago it was $360. Last year it was $365, and this year it was $378. Every year we try to see how far can we push that budget as we look to plan for the future. We often find ourselves throughout the year running at a deficit on a monthly basis and then on a year-to-date basis, and then we catch it up at the end of the year. This year's no exception. To tell you a little bit about where we stand, currently we are about $25,000 in a deficit if you look at how much money we've brought into our general fund versus how much we've spent for the year. That compares really favorably to where we were at this time last year, which was negative $45,000. So we're well ahead of that. And the year before that, I think we were about negative 31. But the last 2 years, we've always finished the year strong, and we've ended up basically at a break even. Last year, we ended up at about $2,700 ahead of our plan. The year before that, $3,400. So no matter where we seem to be this time of the year, we've always had a really strong end of the year, and that's really due to the faithful congregation. As we enter the budget season, we not only use kind of where we are year to date with our finances, but we use the commitment process and the stewardship campaign to really understand what can we think about doing next year. Do we want to keep our budget the same, or do we want to grow? How can we dream a little bigger, and where can we push that envelope? When you think about what we really would like to do, there's a few things that we have that are going to be needs in the coming year, and there's a few things that we would probably throw into that want category. And so I want to kind of give you a flavor for some of those, and just so you have an appreciation for the money that goes towards different things. Right now, as part of this renovation, we probably have about $5,000 in deductibles that we have yet to pay. That's for the 2 insurance claims, and that'll all come due in January probably once we finish the renovation. We probably have about $10,000 in new air conditioning equipment that we're going to have to spend for 2 units in the front in the sanctuary that are no longer functioning. And so as we do the renovation, those costs are going to come in. As you think about the notes you've seen about coming and pulling up all these plants, guess what? We got to replace them. So there's going to be some landscaping cost. And there's also some additional drainage work that has to happen around the church as we kind of finish up this project. So there's a lot of costs related to that I throw into the needs category. We've also already spent some money on windows, painting, and some other things related to this kind of renovation that have taken money out of our operating budget and that have really shown up in those numbers that I shared with you. So that's the reality. I mean, those are things that we're going to have to pay for. It doesn't really cover all the things we want to do, right? We all want to spend more money on outreach. I mean, yesterday was a great example of how that money can be used to show ourselves in this community and to show the Spirit of Christ. We want to do more of that. We want to be able to advance our full-time staff. I mean, right now we have a part-time youth and children's minister. We'd love to see how we can grow that to be a full-time position. One thing that you ought to know is that we really haven't given our staff raises in the last 2 years because of our budget. Our budget's kind of break even. And so we've not had the ability to do that. You guys do a phenomenal job at Christmas of recognizing them and giving them Christmas bonus through that process, but we've not given them a raise in the last 2 years. I want you to be aware of that. You know, and probably the biggest one I have, and maybe some of you, is at the end of this, I want to throw all these chairs away and get some new ones. So you know, these have seen their better day, and I'd love to see that go away. So that's, you know, as we enter stewardship, it's not always about the finances, but you know, I am the finance guy, so they did ask me to talk. But it's really about how can we use the blessings that God has given us to the betterment of our mission here to increase Christ's presence here in this community and in His kingdom here on earth. And so, to steal an analogy from a guy I work with, it's, you know how elephants, when they are approached, they flare their ears to seem bigger than they are. How can we as this little church in Heath flare our ears so that people think we're bigger than we are and they want to be involved in what the Spirit does in this place? Thank you.